Hi everyone, this is Dr. Mike, host of the free iTunes podcast, Psychiatric Secrets Revealed with Dr. Mike, but that's not why I'm here today. This is another Saving Savvy episode, and like many of my Saving Savvy episodes, I usually do them because there's some sort of a theme or something. I've done a lot of technology ones lately, and now I'm kind of getting back into some simple and inexpensive cooking. And this was really prompted by my oldest daughter, who is living out of the house and trying to make her smaller budget work. And a number of months ago, I was trying to show her some basic things to cook and to make things inexpensively instead of having to go out to restaurants or rely on frozen foods. It also brought back some memories because when I was a single person many, many years ago, I remember going to the White Hen, which was sort of in those days the equivalent of a 7-Eleven or a Quickie Mart. And I would go in there and I would buy my coffee, and I would buy, typically they'd have by the checkout area, some of these nice big slices of quick bread. And they would sometimes be like a pound cake, or they would be banana bread or something. And they cost at least $1.50. I didn't think very much of it at the time, and I would buy them and have my coffee and my quick bread, and that would be my breakfast for the day. However, I was talking to my wife the other day, and I said, "Do you think those things are still $1.50?" And she said, "Are you kidding? Hostess Ho-Hos are $1.50. So you're really spending a lot of money for something that you can easily make at home. So today we're going to talk about this. Overripe bananas. Now, what do you do? In fact, these are, I would even take them even riper than this. What do you do when you have some bananas that have been sitting around and you are thinking, gee, they're a little bit too ripe for me to eat or even to put in my cereal? Well, I'm going to show you an incredibly easy and inexpensive quick bread recipe that's really delicious. Of course, it's not my recipe. I'm not that clever. This was from cooks.com, but it's a good way to start out being kind of frugal and economical. And I'm even going to make it in a toaster oven to show you that you don't even have to have an oven. So if you're someplace where you don't have an oven, you're in an efficiency apartment or a basement apartment or something like that, and you're trying to save some money, use your toaster oven. So let's go into the kitchen and make some super simple but really delicious banana bread. Okay, here we are with our basic setup. We have some dry and wet ingredients, a greased and floured baking pan. This one is the 8.5-inch size. I'm going to use a mixer. You could do this by hand too. I recommend, though, if you are going to buy a little hand mixer, to get a slightly better quality one. The cheap ones really just don't last. So let's take a look at what our ingredients are. Our dry ingredients consist of 1 cup sugar, 1.5 cup flour, 1 teaspoon baking soda, not powder, 1 teaspoon salt. Here we have 2 large or 3 smallish overripe or very ripe bananas, just kind of at the point where you really wouldn't want to eat them. 1 lightly beaten egg, 1/2 stick of butter, and this is real butter, but you could use margarine too, just melted in the microwave. And then over here I have what we had in the freezer, some chopped walnuts, not very many, and I found some sunflower seeds that were already shelled. I threw a few of those in there too. You could omit this, or you could add things like, anything you wanted, like chocolate chips or whatever. But in this case, I'm going to try little nuts. Again, you could omit that if you don't have them. I would recommend, if you do have nuts, to keep them in the freezer because they stay fresh a lot longer. Just pull them out when you need to bake with them. We're going to cook this all, or bake this all, in this toaster oven. This is a Breville toaster oven, which works very well. But I've also used a regular toaster oven with great success too. You could cook this in an oven if you want to do that. Whatever you have handy. By the way, you might say, what happened to our other toaster oven? Well, we gave it away, which was a win-win situation because someone needed a toaster oven, and then I got to get this really cool one. By the way, we're going to cook at 325 degrees, and I'm not using the convection option. So no convection on this one, although I guess you could, but I'm not. So I'm just mashing up these bananas. These actually, I would like them actually a little riper than this. These are pretty ripe. You could do this by hand. It's just much easier to use a mixer. Crank it up. Get them nice and smushed. Now I'm going to add in the egg, which is 1 just lightly beaten egg. I'm going to add in the butter, which is a 1/2 of a stick of just melted butter. Again, it could be margarine or whatever you want. I'm going to mix that in a little bit too. Doesn't have to be anything too special. At this point I can mix a lot if I choose to, but once I start adding the dry ingredients, I want to just mix it a little bit. And that's true for any kind of a muffin or quick bread. You don't want to really over-mix it. It just gets kind of funky. So here we have all of our dry ingredients. I should have mixed them up, but I didn't. I'm just going to dump them in. They're in there. And low, I'm just going to mix that up. And I'm going to see what this looks like. It's looking like it needs a little bit of water. Oh, I'm not so sure. Well, I think I'm going to add a little bit of something. It looks a little bit, yeah, let's mix a little bit more and see. Is that too thick? Or no, that's probably okay. So you can see it's kind of a very thick batter. That's what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to dump in my add-ons. Remember, this is totally optional. So I have, I don't even know how much it is, probably less than a quarter cup of chopped walnuts that I had in the freezer for a long time. And then just like a little tiny pinch of sunflower seeds because I had those too. Let your imaginations roll. And we're just going to mix that in. And that's probably enough of that too. So I'll let that go, and I'm going to get a spatula. And I'm still debating if this is a little bit too thick or not. But we'll say it's okay. And we're going to then put this into this 8.5 by 4.5 size baking pan that has been, and I know I'm blocking the camera. Thank you. My son Will is doing the camera work for me here. So I thank him very much for his help. So we're going to try to get all that in there. Every little drop of it if we can. And this is a recipe that I found on cooks.com, so I'm not taking credit for it. But the great thing about this recipe is that it's so darn simple. Anyone has these ingredients, and it's just a great way to use up those bananas. And in fact, if you don't want to make it right away, if you have some old bananas, just stick them in the freezer and then just thaw them and make it. Your banana bread's not going to care. Smooth it out just a little bit. Of course, use your finger if you have to. And now this is ready to go in the oven. And we're going to bake this for about an hour or until it's kind of firm and set. Okay, here it is out of the oven. Here's a little tip. If the top starts to brown too quickly, just cover it up with a little bit of aluminum foil. The oven shut off during the process, and so I had to return it on, and it still looks like it worked out fine. You always want to stick a toothpick or something like a piece of spaghetti or something in it to make sure that it's going to come out clean. If it comes out wet or doughy, it means you need to bake it more. So we're going to let this cool off for maybe about 5 or 10 minutes, then turn it out, let it cool a little bit longer, and then slice it up and see how it looks. So here we have, this is an 8-inch baking pan, so this would give you 8 slices at next to nothing compared to what you would pay if you went to a convenience store and bought a plastic wrap slice of some sort of a quick bread, then who knows even when that was made. Okay, here we go. There's the banana bread turned out. And it is a nice golden brown. Looks just perfect. We're going to sample it, let it cool a few more minutes, and then cut it open. Okay, here it is, all sliced up. I'm going to taste it and see how it tastes. That is really good. And the lovely Dr. Julie, how do you like it?
It's delicious.
All right. So I'd say for about next to nothing and some old bananas, we made a great treat that will be great for lunches or for little breakfast bread or whatever you want. There you have it. Easy and cheap banana bread. Well, there you have it. Banana bread made easy, and it is delicious. So if you have some time, I would also appreciate it if you could give my podcast a listen. It's an audio podcast. It's called Psychiatric Secrets Revealed with Dr. Mike. Totally free, totally different topic, and it's free on iTunes. You can get it other places too. Anyways, have a great day.